Okay, good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please start with a roll call.
Council President Corman.
Here.
Councilmember Prince.
Here.
Councilmember McIrvin.
Here.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Here.
Councilmember Benedetti.
Here.
Councilmember Venn.
Here.
And Councilmember Perez.
Here.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all present.
Okay, thank you. And tonight, to start off tonight's meeting, we have a public hearing. It's on the mid-biennial budget adjustment hearing. And once again, to join us is Carrie Roller.
Okay, so tonight we have a public hearing on the mid-biennial budget update. The purpose of the mid-biennial budget update is to just update the general fund revenue projections based on what we've seen over the last 8 to 9 months. Some housekeeping adjustments to incorporate prior council actions, adjustments for unexpected costs, and proposed department changes. There is some legislation that will be required as well. And we'll need to adopt ordinance to set the property tax levy for 2022, adopt an ordinance for the proposed budget, and adopt a resolution updating the fee schedule. So council set the budget calendar earlier this month, and this is the first of 2 public hearings for the mid-biennial budget adjustment. This slide is showing how we calculate the property tax levy for the next year. State law allows cities to increase the base property tax levy by the lower of inflation or 1%, along with any increases to the base property tax for new construction. The top portion, we are just showing what the city's estimated maximum statutory limit is based on the preliminary assessment from King County. And the lower section is what our actual 22 proposed budget contemplates, which is property tax levy of just a bit more than $23 million. There are no proposed tax increases for 22 other than the allowed 1% increase in the new construction. We will update the ordinance once we get the final numbers from King County. Here is just a summary of the number of some of the revenue adjustments for 21 and 22. These adjustments are just a direct result of the actual year-to-date revenue collections thus far. So some of the adjustments reflect no tax increases, just updating our overall projections for both years. There is a large portion of adjustments for 2021, which is approximately $19.1 million, which is just one-time grant revenues. So other than just the grant revenues, the other revenues are just an increase of about $600,000 for both years. Next, we have a summary of the proposed changes on the expense side, where we have highlighted some of just the larger changes. These include some funds allocated for grants, including the ARPA funds approved by council thus far, some citywide reorganization, infrastructure improvements, and investment in police body cameras. In addition to the general fund, we do have some non-general fund adjustments in this proposed mid-biennial adjustment. We're making an adjustment for House Bill 1590, which is for housing and supportive services. This is that extra 0.1% sales tax revenues, as well as approved spending thus far from council. We have an adjustment for our REIT revenues based on year-to-date collections, and we are recognizing a Department of Commerce grant for the Family First construction. We do have one change from our October 4th Committee of the Whole presentation to add an additional $50,000 to a capital facilities budget because the previous figure was just an estimate. We also have a few fee schedule changes. The changes include an update to our Maplewood Golf Course fees. Of note, these fees were also corrected from the last presentation to still show an increase, but just a slightly smaller increase that is now in line with the 2022 budget. We're adding a small cell site license, and we're updating our right-of-way permit fees for areas along the Lake Washington waterfront. There's also a few fees that we collect on behalf of other agencies, and that includes an update for the school impact fees that are imposed by the school districts, as well as an update to the fire marshal fees that is imposed by the Regional Fire Authority. And with that, I will turn it back over to you for the public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember O'Halloran.
Barring any public comment, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
I received no correspondence or request to speak tonight.
Okay, any other communication? Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, second by Councilmember Prince, that we close the public hearing. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, the public hearing is closed. Next up is the administrative report.
All right, good evening, everyone. City Hall has been open since July for in-person services at our finance and police counters, Monday through Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Our municipal court counter is open Thursday and Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., while hearings are conducted via Zoom. Our staff continues to provide and improve virtual and online customer services, such as our virtual permit counter and our recreation programming reservation process. Space is limited in each facility and masks are required when inside a city facility as we follow guidance that protects both you and our employees. For more information, please visit our website. Solid Waste Utility Division held a recycle event on September 18th. The event served over 400 participants and prevented 8,000 pounds of shredded paper and 920 pounds of styrofoam from disposal in the landfill. In addition, participants donated 430 pounds of food for the Salvation Army Renton Food Bank. Help us prevent local residential street flooding by monitoring catch basins near your home and keep them clear of leaves and other debris. Street sweepers are dispatched daily to clean up debris along major arterials. Information about preventative street maintenance, traffic impact projects, and road closures happening this week can be found at rentonlaw.gov/traffic. All projects are weather permitting, and unless otherwise noted, streets will always remain open.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll open up the remote audience comment period. It remains the strong intent of the city to have public comment regularly included on our agendas. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to speak. You'll be called upon by a city staff member. The staff member will call the speaker's name and unmute the appropriate microphone, which will send an automatic prompt to the speaker of, "You've been unmuted." This is the speaker's cue that it's their turn to speak. Please begin your comments by stating your name, city of residence, and the topic you're addressing. Speakers should be able to see a timer on the screen. Please finish up your comments when you see the time is close to expiring. And I believe we have 2 individuals signed up tonight.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 2 people registered. The first person is Jill Cervez. Jill, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. Again, my name is Jill Service. I live in Renton, and I've spoken to you a couple times before, and I've also been speaking to the Planning Commission regarding the pet store humane ordinance. I'm sure you're tired of hearing from me. I'm tired of having to come to you, but I'm just kind of wondering why it's stalled and what's been going on with it. I know you're super busy people, and I am very grateful for your service to our community. But for almost 8 months, this store has been selling puppies while the city continues to look the other way. Contrast this with the city of Olympia, who passed their ordinance within 1 month of their pet store opening there. Here in Renton, a humane ordinance has not been passed, and because of this, over 1,000 puppies have been sold out of that Renton store. I'm not sure why this issue hasn't been prioritized or why it's not moving, but every single day this store is open, the city of Renton is contributing to the suffering in puppy mills. Puppyland also adds to the pet overpopulation problem in America. During the 6 months that those 1,000 puppies were sold here in Renton, 1.5 million animals were euthanized in the U.S. 1.5 million. Of dogs that enter a shelter, over 25% are purebreds. I have worked for years in shelters. I don't currently work in one now, but I have in the past. One medium-sized female dog and her offspring can produce over 60,000 puppies in a 6-year time frame. That's just a medium-sized dog. I'm sure you remember that Puppyland does not require dogs to be spayed or neutered. I have heard that lobbyists from Puppyland want you to believe there is some kind of dog shortage. This statement is false, and quite honestly, it's insulting. Tonight, before I came on the Zoom call, I went on Pet Finder, a great online resource for adopting pets. There are currently 443 puppies within 50 miles of Renton on the Pet Finder website tonight, and a total of 1,600 dogs of any age in the same 50-mile radius. The sale of the puppies in Renton is doing nothing but contributing to our pet overpopulation. Since the Renton store opened in mid-February, 20 other cities and counties in the U.S. have passed bans on the sale of puppy mill dogs in pet stores. I thought you guys might like to hear something about where these ordinances have been enacted while we've been doing nothing here in Renton. Tumwater, Washington, Springfield, Massachusetts, Appleton, Wisconsin, Vail, Colorado, Boise, Idaho, the entire state of Illinois, Orange County, Florida, College Station, Texas, and many, many others. I want to know what's going on with Renton. So I'm here tonight to ask, what is the holdup? What more information do you require? What can we do to facilitate the movement of this ordinance? Could the City Council urge the Planning Commission to make this a priority? How many more puppies are going to be imported into Renton, supporting the lives of the parents left behind? With the holidays fast approaching, all of us know exactly what kind of numbers we can expect that Puppyland store to be churning out. When can we expect Renton to stop condoning and contributing to the suffering that occurs from the puppy mill dogs? And again, I do thank you for your time. I'll be protesting there again. We've got 3 more dates scheduled. If you'd like the names of the dates you'd like to come and see and talk to us in person, we'll be out there and I can provide you with those dates. But I really would like to not have to protest this store anymore. I'd love my Saturdays back. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And I can tell you that this is something we are taking very serious. It's something that staff is working on. And the difference between Renton and all the other cities that were listed on that list is that they don't have an existing store that was already open. And that includes Olympia. And so there's legal issues here. And what I can tell you is staff is working on it. We are not turning a blind eye. So I think we have one more.
Mr. Mayor, we have Henry Nguyen, who also registered to speak. However, I don't see Henry on the attendee list.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. All right, next up is the consent agenda. There are 7 items for council consideration.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Council President Corman.
I'd like to ask if any council member would like any of these 7 items removed for individual consideration. Hearing none, I move approval of the consent agenda as published. Second.
It's been moved by Council President Corman, seconded by Councilmember McGurven, that the consent agenda be approved as published. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Next, we have unfinished business. Council President Corman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I don't have any committee reports to present, but I do have another item that I think sort of would qualify for unfinished business. And that's that, as I think council knows well, I'm the Renton representative on the East Rail, the new trail that's replacing the Burlington Northern Railroad. And we had one of our meetings today, and it's certainly been an honor representing Renton on this effort. It's a great project that, as a reminder, is going to extend like 30 miles, and it's going to go over the Wilburton Trestle. And there's big news this last week about Amazon providing some of the money to complete that work. So it's a lot of excitement about the trail. And in today's meeting, we were shown figures that show that actually the segment of trail in Renton is picking up users faster than any other segment. So our residents are finding it, they're enjoying it. There was a visit by the staff of East Rail just a little more than a week ago, and they talked to 100 people on that trail about how much they enjoy it. Anyways, at our meeting today, we did have some comments. This was the whole East Rail public meeting. We did get comments from Renton residents that were not quite as well. That issued sort of a challenge to us, though, and this is important, and bear with me if I can just sort of explain this. For those of us, probably all of you have had a chance to get out there, but we're all sort of familiar with the fact that that this magnificent trail, if you're taking the trail south and you're walking down the trail, you suddenly find the railroad tracks, and it's an active railroad. And then if you've walked the trail all the way to the railroad track, you actually, to go any further, you have to backtrack a little bit. And if you know Renton geography, then you know that if you're a pedestrian, you can find your way down Mountain View. It's not a very wide street. It's not much wider than a driveway, and get into Coulon Park. You can't go in there with a bicycle because there's no bikes in Coulon Park. So you'd have to backtrack and then get on to Lake Washington. And so the two people that called into the meeting today from Renton, who made very gracious comments, I was really impressed with the way they presented the problem, but they emphasized again to the whole East Rail Committee how important it is to do two things really. One is to get that segment funded that's basically going to take the trail south and connect it with either the roads in Coulon or for bicyclists, maybe somehow get them up to Lake Washington, get the pedestrians into Coulon Park, but just have it not just end where everybody's kind of confused. And as a reminder to council, we have taken this seriously. In fact, Doug Levy worked hard to get, I think, a $5 million budget item in both the House and Senate transportation budgets this last year. I think those got paired out kind of in the deliberation process, and so Doug's going to be trying to get them back in there next year. But it's taking a while. We're committed, though. The whole of the East Rail group is committed to doing that segment. But meanwhile, as use goes up, we're basically going to end up with more like hundreds of people that are sort of getting dumped out there. And the administration's worked before to try and sort out some of that in the near term. The suggestion that was made to East Rail tonight, and I'm formally sort of following up on it, was to see if there's some sort of signage we could do. So as you're heading south on the trail, if you're a pedestrian, you know where to go. If you're a bicyclist, you know where to go. And that you also understand that this is a temporary condition and that there's a bigger project and work to fix this. And so what I told the East Rail was that I'd ask our administration to get in contact with East Rail staff and see again if there's some action that they could take. Then this evening before the council meeting, I noticed we got a couple of emails, or at least I received a couple of emails on the same topic. I don't know if all of council got those. I'll forward them to the council to explain, but I thought I'd bring this up under old business because I think the administration's already working it. I don't think it needs to go to committee or anything. Anyways, I just wanted to share that. And then, Mr. Mayor, if I can just indulge one more time. I don't think any of us can blame the people that have come back and asked for the Humane Pet Store Ordinance repeatedly. And I appreciate, Mr. Mayor, your sharing what I know the council's view on it is that, we'd like to be like the other cities and have the same kinds of restrictions. And because we already had a business in place, it's a different scenario. But I guess I was thinking, I would like to consider, even though there's legal implications and there's a realization that the ordinance may not be retroactive, and I think that's still being worked out. I know there's a lot of legal issues there. At some point, maybe as a council, we should just go ahead and implement an ordinance, even if we're not certain about its retroactivity. And I guess I'd just put that out there as something to consider. But I'm not asking for a formal motion on that or anything. But I think that would at least not leave the residents confused as to, where we stand on it. So thank you. It's kind of an unusual old business, but I appreciate it.
So I'm still up in the air. Do you have any unfinished business?
Well, I considered both of those unfinished business,
Okay.
but yeah.
No formal unfinished business.
Correct. Thank you. And I hope that wasn't out of order. I don't think it was because they're both in front of us and those are just updates I wanted to share.
Yeah, and the money is actually $6 million, and they're actually still working on it. It's in It's in the transportation package that the legislator might be going to special session on, so.
Good.
We'll see where it ends up.
Great, and thank you. Thank you to the administration, to you and everybody that's working to make that happen. In fact, I think that the East Rail Committee would obviously they'd write a whole letter to help us get that money, so.
Yeah.
Good,
A lot
thanks.
of champions for that, for sure.
Yep.
Thank you. Councilmember Prince.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember McGurven.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor, although I would just like to piggyback on Councilmember Corman's comments and just say I agree with what he said on East Rail, and I just want to add dogs to that list of people who also can't enter Coulon Park. Just that's all I wanted to add. That's it.
Good point.
All right, thank you. Councilmember O'Halloran.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Benedetti.
I have no unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Van.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Perez.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
All right. All right, we're on to legislation. We have 2 ordinance for second and final reading.
Okay, the first ordinance for second and final reading is regarding adding Juneteenth as a city holiday. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending Section 181 of the Renton Municipal Code, adding Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a holiday, adding Juneteenth as a holiday, clarifying language as to the rotation of the existing holiday that rotates between the day before and the day after Christmas, and clarifying language regarding the observance of holidays occurring on Saturdays and Sundays, providing for severability, and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember O'Halloran.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, second by Councilmember Corman. The ordinance be adopted as read. This requires a roll call.
Council President Corman.
Aye.
Councilmember Prince.
Aye.
Councilmember McGurven.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Aye.
Councilmember Benedetti.
Aye.
Councilmember Venn.
Aye.
Councilmember Perez.
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
Okay, motion carries.
All right, the final ordinance for second and final reading is regarding the urban center zone. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending sections 4210, 4220, and 4260, subsections 4280A6, 4280A85, 4280A91, 4280A92, and 42120A, and section 44150 of the Renton Municipal Code, separating the urban center UC zone into 2 zones, urban center 1 UC-1 and urban center 2 UC-2, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Prince.
Yes, I'd like to move the ordinance be adopted as read. Before I do that, I'd like to draw the council and the public's attention to the fact that this ordinance was amended, and recognizing that we have pipeline projects that are currently under review, and the new rules would not apply to those projects. With that, Mr. Mayor, I move that the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Prince, seconded by Councilmember Perez, that the ordinance be adopted as read. This requires a roll call.
Council President Corman.
Aye.
Councilmember Prince.
Aye.
Councilmember McGurven.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Aye.
Councilmember Benedetti.
Aye.
Councilmember Venn.
Aye.
And Councilmember Perez.
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
Okay, motion carries. We are on to new business. Council President Corman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me just pull that page up. Okay, I have 2 meetings to announce, both of them for October 18th, 2021. The first one is at, sorry, just noticing something. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Excuse me. Today's the 18th. So the meetings are both for October 25th, 2021. I read the note wrong. The first is a meeting at 6:00 p.m. on October 25th, the Committee of the Whole. It's a video conference. We have one item on that agenda. It's a legislative update. And the second item is the regular council meeting that will follow at 7:00 p.m., also via video conference. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Prince.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 25th at 5 p.m., the Planning and Development Committee will meet. We have 4 items on the agenda. We're meeting via video conference. King County Regional Homelessness Authority briefing, South King County Housing and Homelessness Partners 2022 work plan and operating budget, docket 16 update, and emerging issues and CED. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember McGurven.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Finance Committee will be meeting at 4 p.m. on Monday, the 25th via video conference. We have 5 items on the agenda. The first is the agreement with Line Barger, Gogan, Blair, and Sampson LLP for collection services. Second is the contract with Axon for body-worn cameras and equipment. Third is agreement with BNSF Railway Company for the Park Avenue North Extension Project. The fourth item is vouchers. And the fifth item is emerging issues in finance. And that's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Benedetti.
I have no new business, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilmember Van.
No new business, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Perez.
No new business, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, what is the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Councilmember Corman that we adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.